Hello guys, welcome back to the third episode of Python programming with my computer science teacher. We are now we're gonna build on what we've already learned. Okay, but this time we're going to be looking at using integers instead of strings. Strings being words, integers being whole numbers. Okay, so in this program, that was a little conversation that we created, and if you didn't get a chance to do this, go back into the previous episode and have a go at doing that. But if you're with me, let's get started. I'm actually going to delete this code. And I'm actually going to clear the console because I don't want to use that anymore. And what I am going to do now is create a variable to store a number in there. So I've called it num1. It's meaningful. I know what's going to be stored in there, a number, the first number. I'm going to say equals input, open and close brackets, and in the quotation marks, I'm going to write enter a number. Now there's a problem with this code already, yeah? And even though that this is the same code we used before, when we input with Python, it automatically thinks it's going to be a string, which means it's going to be a word. And I don't want to input a word, I don't want to input a number. So at the front here, just before input, I have to use the word int and open the bracket. Now, because I've got two open brackets and one closed bracket, I need to close both of them at the end. So that means now it's going to say enter a number, input an integer, and store it inside this variable here. And then I'm just going to print that variable just so I can see that it's working. Print num1, right? I'm going to run that now. It's going to ask me to enter a number, 35, click on enter, and it says 35. Good work. But obviously, you know, we want to do something with those numbers now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this print statement. I'm going to show you the different ways that you can perform calculations on this variable. So I can add 5 to it. Yeah, so I can take that number that I input and add 5 to it. So we're working with number 35 at the moment. So run that, click on 35, write 35 again, and then I add 5 to it and you get 40, right? There's more things we can do to it though. I'm going to copy this line of code. I'm going to paste it underneath. So I've got another exact version. We'll do it one at a time. It will make more sense if I do it one at a time. I'm also now going to subtract 5 from it. So when I run it, it's going to say, if I write 35 again, it's going to add 5 and then subtract 5 from that number. So 35 plus 5 is 40, 35 minus 5 is 30. And then we're getting on to creating multiplications now. The multiplication sign is the star. I think it's called an asterisk. I think that's what they call it. So now I'm going to take my number and times it by 5. So when I run it, enter a number, 35, I'm going to add 5, minus 5, and then times it by 5. And that gives you 175. Okay, so if you got quick maths and you figured that out really quickly, then well done. And the final one is divide. So I want to print, open and close brackets, num1 divided by 5. So let's run that now. So that means it's going to take that number, 35, divide it by 5, and see what we end up with. And 35 divided by 5 is 7. Like 7 times 5 is 35. So yeah, and those are the they're called arithmetic operators, but we just know them as, you know, things that we use to calculate. But they're called arithmetic operators. So I'm going to show you how to use this properly in a program in a minute. But I'm also going to show you one simple little technique where you can actually add two of them together. Num1 plus num1, yeah? So when I run that, it takes the number that I've input, 35, and I press enter, and it says 70, because 35 plus 35 is 70, isn't it, right? But I don't want to use that same variable. I want a second variable, like num2 is equal to int for integer, input, brackets, and then in there, I want to say enter a second number. Enter a second number. Yeah? And then what I will do is, instead of saying num1 plus num2, I'm going to say num1 plus num2. And run that code. And then you'll see if I put the first number in, which is going to be 35, and the second number is now going to be 20, and press enter, it performs a calculation for me. It says 35 plus 20 is 55. And you can even add a third variable then. So num3 is equal to int, open and close brackets, input, open and close brackets, quotation marks, enter the third number. And this time I'm going to add it to this little section here, but I'm just going to multiply both of them by that number. So multiplied by num3, whatever stored inside that variable. So let's have a look and see what happens. So run that code. I'm going to say 5 plus 5 equals 10, and then multiplied by 10 is actually going to be 100, isn't it? What? No, my maths has not worked for me here. Or has it worked for me? Or am I just not thinking properly? Or I am thinking properly, actually. What we're forgetting is the valuable rule of BIDMAS. BIDMAS. If you guys are into your maths and stuff, you know that BIDMAS is going to happen here. So you know brackets will happen first, division, multiplication, adding, and subtracting. So we've actually done that part of the code first. So as much as like if you follow the logic of that one plus that one times that, but that doesn't work, does it? Because you use BIDMAS, and Python automatically knows how to use BIDMAS. So yeah, I can change that to a multiply, and then it will go in that order because you know how BIDMAS works, isn't it? So let's test this out. So 5 plus 5 is 10, minus 5 is 5. And that, now you know it works in that order. So just bear in mind that it does use BIDMAS, so be careful with your calculations, yeah? All right, cool. So that's your little introduction into calculating with numbers. We could, you know what we could do actually? I'm going to convert this into a real program now. Watch this. Yeah, I want to work out the area. So I want the length. I want the input equals int, open and close brackets, input, open and close brackets. I'm going to say enter the length. Okay, enter the length, right? I'm going to take that code, copy it because I ain't got time to waste. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to type in length times width, yeah, or width, or height times width, or whatever you want to do. Length times width, so enter the width. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another variable called area. My area is equal to length times width, yeah? And then in the sentence underneath, I'm going to write print, open and close brackets, the area is, comma, area, right? So let's see if this works now. Run that code, no syntax errors, perfect. 5 times 5 is 25. The area is 25. And if you want to add the centimeter squared, you'd be right, centimeter 2. And then it will just come up as a nice little finisher for that. And then you can see 5 times 5 is 25 centimeters squared. Lovely jubbly. So that's your whistle stop tour into programming with integers in variables and performing calculations. Feel free to go and create any kind of program like that you want. You can create the program that I've created. You can work out the perimeters. You can work out the area of a triangle. You know, there's lots of things that you can do. You can double a number, triple a number. So you guys go ahead and give that a try. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And just a personal point from me, well done for persevering and you know, just getting one step closer to your programming goals, because you are getting one step closer. So well done for that. Little pat on the back. All right, take care, guys. I'll see you on the next episode where we're going to be learning about how to use if statements.